What it tells us, this film, and tells Harry Potter, is that your wisdom is out there too, thriving somewhere. You're human too. And as such, you're never alone. I completely missed the Harry Potter series when it was in production. I didn't grow up reading the books, being a relative oldie, and I hadn't started a family yet either, and I had no young nieces or nephews. I was really only vaguely aware of the entire phenomenon, frankly, until 2011, when the visual effects house that I worked at got a quick job animating those duplicating objects in Bellatrix's vault for the final installment of the franchise. And as was customary at the time, we had a screening. And so I saw the final movie completely out of context with the rest of the franchise, an experience that didn't really leave me wanting to go back to the beginning. Cut to today. I have a family and a 9-year-old kid who hitherto has said she hates Harry Potter and refused to read or watch any of them. Turns out she didn't hate Harry Potter at all. Like a lot of kids, she felt she had to dislike this thing because someone else she knew liked it, and that person disliked the thing that she liked. Well, that rivalry apparently ended at some point without any fanfare, and suddenly she was interested in the young wizard and his magical exploits. And one Sunday afternoon, very recently, on a break from the iPad, we started watching Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for the first time. And yeah, it's pretty good. The effects were a little clunky now and again, but come on, it's 2001. For a 23-year-old film, it kind of holds up. I was actually more amazed at how sort of old-fashioned the storytelling was more than anything else. And part of that is, of course, I assume, the material. Harry's adopted family, for instance, are quintessential caricatures of awful step people, and the antics before reaching Hogwarts could be pulled right out of any 1970s Disney live-action kids film. But then things changed when we got to Hogwarts, and really for its time, it was a revelation in young adult fiction. I know there's a debate online about whether Harry is a children's franchise or young adult, but given that I've seen the final installment, I'm going to go with young adult. Some of the ideas and images were a little loss of innocence inducing, if you know what I mean. And the dark scene in the forest, for instance, where they find the dead unicorn, springs to mind. And my daughter partly hid her face behind the couch cushions for most of that. And there was the odd moment with heightened scares when she did the same thing. But all in all, for a kid who prefers Minecraft to most narrative stories, she sure jumped up and down, shrieking with glee every time Harry and his friends prevailed over the bullies. And that's as it should be. The Quidditch scene comes to mind. But I really don't want to be that movie dad who gets to break it to his daughter someday where exactly Daniel Radcliffe's career went from this series. Don't get me wrong, I think he's an incredibly brave and talented actor, and I love the trajectory that he's carved out for himself, but Swiss Army Man, she should never find out about that. At least till the tween crush years have passed. I don't think I need to wade into thematic waters too much with Sorcerer's Stone, I think, given this series kind of grew up with the entire genre of YouTube movie reviews. And I'm not going to add too much to it anyway, but you can certainly never point out too often how the themes of self-respect and embracing of your own identity, even when it seems you're in the wrong place, whether that's a family, an overly narrow culture, or an institution, is crucial to finding your tribe, and that you should find that tribe if you can, even if it seems they're nowhere in sight at first. Maybe there's a track 9 3/4 that, just hasn't made your train schedule. Maybe there's a school that's a better fit for your type of brain, but you never hear about it because you're neurodiverse, for instance, and you're surrounded by neurotypical culture and news and their common wisdom. What it tells us, this film, and tells Harry Potter, is that your wisdom is out there too, thriving somewhere. You're human too. And as such, you're never alone. Not if you don't want to be. But you have to look. You have to be open. You have to be able to see what sometimes others don't see. or appreciate in others. For instance, Weasley starts out treating Hermione just the way he's always been treated. It's reflex after a while, till he realizes she's just another human being, just like him. Little touches, little messages, little glimpses of humanity. That's kind of what this channel has been about often. And that's what we found in and amongst the characters of Hogwarts. So I'm hopeful for this series as we go on. I think we'll likely be following it in a more historical timeline replay, if you know what I mean. One movie every year or so as my daughter matures. It's my understanding that these build on each other with that idea in mind anyway. That as kids grow, the themes and the stories mature as well and become a little more dark, if the last film that I saw has anything to say about it. We did actually start the second movie the very next day, and she was immediately disheartened by how things were a bit less joyous and playful. But maybe next summer we'll be ready for that. Now, I'm not going to touch the J.K. Rowling controversy with a 10-foot pole. That's not what we're here for, except to say that I, too, was deeply astounded and sad to hear how that all panned out. Does it mean the books are trash now? And the movies? That's up to you. But in line with what we just said here, I do think these are universal themes. I think anyone who's human can discover these truths in themselves and be inspired to write about them out of one side of their brain and maybe still succumb to the lesser human traits on another day and get turned a bit. Now I want to listen to Ebony and Ivory for some reason. That's all for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, except if you have thoughts and recommendations for approaching these films for the first time with a young viewer, please leave them in the comments. If you want to buy me a coffee, there's a link below. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.